And I think it should ask you for some permission to stay recorded as well. So that will be your permission for doing that. All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm Jenny Schwartz. I am the Director of Helping here at Jewish for Good. I'm here with my colleagues, Jordana Brown, Shoshana Funk, and Stacey Abramowitz that can raise. And actually, we are also lucky to have our UNC social work intern here, Casey. So I think her screen's off, but she's probably waving behind it. This is Casey's last day, and we've been very lucky to have her with us this year. And as some of you know, when we sent the link for this talk, there was a link for additional resources relevant to this presentation. And Casey is the one who did all of that research and put all of that together. So, and including and the speaker contributed as well. So we are very grateful for her for that extra little thing that we have for all of these talks. So thank you for joining us for this special program made accessible and possible to us all today by Jewish for Good, the Leon Levine Foundation, and the Carolina Foundation for Jewish Seniors. Jewish for Good's Helping Department offers a comprehensive range of services that help people meet life's challenges. We deliver high quality professional social services for adults and their families through all stages of life. This includes counseling, case management, financial assistance, food pantry, and programs like this. Much of what we offer is free and all of it's open to everybody, Jewish or not. For more information, I invite you to visit our website, jewishforgood.org. In addition, in the chat, I will put in a second, as I mentioned, those additional links for presentations and talks and resources relevant to today's presentation. So we'll put that in the chat as well. So for today's talk, we will be muting everyone just for unforeseen background noise, but the speaker will probably say this as well, but you're welcome to unmute and ask questions as the talk goes on. So today I feel is my honor and privilege to introduce Margot Starbuck. Margot is a graduate of Westmont College and Princeton Seminary, is the award-winning writer of more than 30 books. She touched over 100 major publishing projects as author, writer, coach, and editor. She's the author of The Grown Woman's Guide to Online Dating and enjoys equipping others to navigate the sometimes tricky world of online dating. Margot is a mom to 3 young adults by birth and adoption. She lives in downtown Durham in a very special neighborhood built around friends with disabilities. You can learn more about her on her website at margotstarbuck.com. And she's going to be speaking today about staying safe while socializing online. So welcome, Margot.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. And I'm going to have some images. I'm going to begin. And whenever, ooh, y'all are good. Whenever we can have that screen sharing, it will happen. I am the author of The Grown Woman's Guide to Online Dating, and that is because as I was doing online dating, I found it fascinating, funny, maddening, and sort of on a whim, I sent a proposal to my literary agent for this book, and one publisher loved it. Because my main audience until now has been women, if I slip, although a lot of us are women, forgive me if I assume that we are all women dating men. I want to start by sharing a bit of my journey with you. When I was in grad school, as just a wee lass, I met Peter first day of grad school. We got married graduation weekend. Again, the 3 kiddos. And after 18 years of marriage, my husband came out as gay and our marriage ended. Although today we really love each other and I love his husband. So happy-ish ending, but a lot of us have tricky stories, I know. But in terms of when people begin to date after the end of another relationship, the math that I've heard is to give yourself like 1 year to heal for every 5 years that you were in a relationship. And so that turned out to sort of be my math. We had been together for 20 years. And in fact, those first 4 years after the relationship, I was busy healing, caring for our kiddos, hustling at work. And then one day I was at my son's soccer game and this dad next to me who I knew, single guy, he'd been dating a great woman for about 6 months. And he picks up his phone and I hear him say, "Hey, baby." And it was like something clicked in me. A light bulb came on and I say, I wouldn't hate having someone call me baby. It was just like this aha moment. And that night I went home and I signed up for eHarmony. And at that time there were literally a questionnaire of 1,000 questions that you would fill out to try to get your best match. And I was all about it. I pay my money, I post my profile, and I'm pretty sure that I will find Prince Charming like within the first 4 or 5 days, because I have good karma like that. Like, I'm going to be that person. Friends, that was 4.5 years ago. So imagine my surprise, no one has snatched this up. Yeah, it can be quite the journey. And in fact, when I was working on the book, I tried 17 different dating sites, which I do not recommend at all. If you're interested, like 1 or 2 are fine. A few years ago, I started a Facebook group for single Christian women who are doing online dating. This was across all different decades. And that actually has been a great source of support, right? To like be in it with other people who are doing it. And it's been great to see how they support one another. But besides having more dating experience than I wanted and writing the book and having that great online community, wait, I also do stand-up comedy about online dating. I also have another impressive credential for today, I think, and that is that my mom, who just turned 82, dipped her toe into the world of online dating this year. And she lost her husband 3 years ago. But about 1 or 2 years ago, she was on an airplane, seated beside a woman about her age who was traveling to Florida to spend time with a man who she'd been dating that she met online. And as my mom was relaying the story, I could tell she was interested. And so, it took a while, but she gathered her courage. And the site that she hopped on was called Zeus, because I think that's where this woman found her man. And my mom was just going to do it for 30 days. And I'm so proud of her for giving it a try. Have I ghostwritten an email for her to somebody she met on that site? Yes, I have. I absolutely did. I think that she's brave. I think that I'm brave. And I think that you're brave if you're even here today. Now, if you're willing, even if you're not willing, I would love for you to share your name and your location. And this is important. If there's one question that you hope will be answered today that's already inside you, I'd love to hear what that is. And I'm going to ask for Jenny's help in just bossing people around and inviting y'all to share your name and your place would be great.
No problem. I'm happy to kind of go around the circle. And again, you are always welcome to pass as well. So the first person for me is Diane. And to unmute, you're muted, Diane. To unmute for people, if you put your cursor over the screen, a toolbar will come up. On the bottom left, you'll see a microphone and it would say mute or unmute. You just click the microphone and perfect.
Good morning. I'm Diane Cook and I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I really don't have a question yet. I'm just tuning in to see what I can learn today.
Thank you, Diane. The next one for me is Sharon.
Good morning, I'm Sharon. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I too tuned in to gather information for maybe later on.
Awesome.
Just information is what I'm looking for.
Great.
Amy and Odell.
Hi, I'm Amy, and we live, and this is my husband Odell, and we live in Cary, North Carolina. And I just tuned in because everything I tune in with Jewish for Good is interesting. So I'm here to gather information. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And Nancy.
Well, I'm tuned in because of interest, certainly, in the whole 4 days. I have not thought about dating. My husband died 2007. He was a wonderful companion and my best friend and all that. And I've been so busy, I haven't really thought about dating, and I don't really relish the idea of dating. I would like to find a companion to do things with. Don't want to get remarried, but I'd be interested in that. And I'm very leery of those dating sites because of the different things that you hear do happen. So I'm interested in what you have to say.
Nancy.
Okay. And then Freda.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Freda. I'm recently divorced after 46 years of marriage. So I think with the 5 years, I have a couple of years before I have to actually think about dating. And I'm in Durham. And so I'm just looking to get information from the site today. So thank you for your help.
And I think, and then Natalie, I don't know if you had anything you wanted.
Oh, sure. I'm Natalie and I'm joining from Durham. And yeah, I am here. I've had the pleasure of hearing Margot speak before and just really appreciate her experience. So thankful to be here.
Okay, thanks. Tiffany?
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm from Raleigh and just here to listen and learn.
Okay, sounds good. And then I don't know if Casey wanted to say anything.
Hi, yeah, I'm happy to be here and just listen and absorb any information I can. Thanks for having me.
I introduced Stacy, Jordana, and Shoshana. Did any of you have anything that you wanted to say? Well, I can say that someone put in the chat that they had some questions about not necessarily finding a partner, but just about friendships and gaming and meeting people to socialize with online as well. And I'll say that I initially was interested in doing this talk because I was working with people who were looking to both socialize and meet friends and things like that, and also interested in dating and just didn't know where to go, how to start, and how to make sure that they weren't getting scammed in some way. So I don't know if that's really a question, but that's that's what it is. And I think that's everyone, Margot.
Awesome. That's what I need to hear.
Yeah.
All right. I'm so glad that y'all are here, and thank you so much for sharing who you are. And I'll say that that mostly today we're thinking about online safety issues around that. But actually, when we have our Q&A, if you have specific questions about online dating, I am a reluctant expert. So please feel free to ask those nuts and bolts questions as well. This week, I was watching reruns of a show that was about 20 years old, and they were making jokes about people who have to go online to meet someone. And there was kind of this stigma about it. And I just want to name that day has passed. And meeting someone online today doesn't carry that same stigma anymore. Definitely not in younger generations. In fact, 1 in 5 committed relationships today starts online. Having said that, somebody I always carry in my heart is my grandmother, who I love, Juanita Lamar Selke. And I actually had her until just a couple of years ago. She would definitely be worried that her daughter and her granddaughter and her great-granddaughter are meeting men online. When I moved from as an 18-year-old, when I moved from my hometown in Illinois to go to college in California, she told me not to talk to any flower children, which would have been fine if it was the 60s or the 70s, but it was 1987. All the flower children were long gone. So I promise you that meeting a strange man online would have been very concerning to her. And although it kind of sounds like I'm poking fun at her, I actually want to honor that maternal instinct. And I want to say that you and I should approach this venture with a healthy degree of caution, because there are some risks, but there's also smart strategies to avoid and limit those risks. And I'll be sharing those. I want to start with a few fun / horror stories to get us in the mood. They're not terrifying. They're actually pretty typical. And I have a slide. I can't see slides. Can you guys see slides yet? There's one that says catfish.
I think here we go. Here comes the slides.
Ooh, y'all are good. Okay. I can see it. And do you know how to make that full screen? Like where you go to the top and start slideshow here?
Yes, I'm trying to
You're a professional. I'm just going to keep talking.
bottom here, but there we go.
Awesome. Sweet. And if you'd scooch to catfishing, the definition of catfishing, friends, it is a deceptive activity where a person, so this is maybe somebody you meet online, creates a fictional persona or fake identity on a social networking service, usually targeting a specific victim. Why would they do this? It might be for financial gain, to compromise a victim in some way, to intentionally upset someone, or for wish fulfillment. I'm just going to be straight with you. I kind of understand why people would do this, like for their own financial gain, but this other business, I don't understand why people would put the energy into pretending they're somebody else, and yet they do. And so, as we're meeting someone online, we're not knowing if they're the real deal or if they're a catfish. So as we're discussing online safety, we've kind of got our antenna up for people who are pretending to be someone other than they are. And I'm just going to share some of there are these catfish stereotypes that you begin to hear and read about. But that picture you're looking at, these two gentlemen have a show on TV called Catfish. And the show is where somebody, maybe they're being catfished, and these guys kind of investigate and they get to the root of things, and they're very clever, and it's very satisfying when a catfish gets caught. But kind of the types of catfish that we hear about, one, which I find all of them funny. It's somebody who says they're working on an offshore oil rig, and the whole oil rig ruse is, they can send messages, but they don't have good internet. So they can't speak to you on the phone. They can't make a video call. So it makes it hard to confirm their identity. There's the oil rig catfish. Sometimes someone will pose as being a soldier overseas, because that's a little noble. And this was the case with my next door neighbor, Savaya. And as they were talking, he kind of wanted her help in setting up a bank account. Thank goodness Savaya is a smart cookie and she was not having it. Doing some research this week, many of these catfishers list their locations as being abroad. So of these fake accounts, 28% from Nigeria, 21% said they were in the Philippines. I don't know. This one's funny. 26% of these people who have been banned because they were catfishing people, 26% said they were engineers and 25% said they were royalty. Okay, this one's important. Of these banned accounts, 63% say that they're widowers. And when you're kind of looking at people, this person's always been single, this person's divorced, this person's a widower. And the widower, we can kind of believe that they maybe had a great long marriage and they're, a healthy person, but it also kind of preys on our sympathies. And I think that's why catfishers use that sometimes. Oh gosh, I want to stop, but I can't. This will be the last one. 54% of these scammers with banned accounts said that they had a PhD. So be wary of those PhDs. Last one. This is a profile that I read where someone said they couldn't spell the word served. And I try not to be a writing snob, but I've saved in the US Marines. I am single, educated with a PhD doctorate, DOCTRANT, a doctorate in psychology. He didn't even spell in right. So I wasn't really believing him. Anyway, these are just kind of some of the the stereotypes of people who catfish, but you really can't tell just from what somebody writes about themselves. I want to share just a couple of stories so that you can begin to have a context for recognizing someone who is posing as other than they are. And as I'm doing this now, what I'm remembering is that some of you are considering the possibility of online dating. And I do hope this won't dissuade you from it altogether, but it is important to be smart as you begin. So the first story is not about dating. The first one is about my mom, who orders a lot from Amazon, and she got an email from Amazon saying there's a problem with her order. So she gets emails from Amazon every day, the logo, all the things, and a phone number to call. So she calls the number, and it actually takes a while to sort everything out. And in the middle of that call, she wanted to verify something with her credit card company. And kind of to make sure that everybody was looped in, the Amazon guy offers to go ahead and connect her to help her make that call. So what's the number? I'll just connect you and you can talk to them. Super helpful. And especially he wasn't asking her for her credit card number, right? Because I feel like a lot of us have been trained, don't give out our personal details, don't give out, contact information, but he was just being helpful. And of course, he goes ahead and connects her. And when somebody answers the phone, it is not, what is she? USA. It is not her credit card company. It is his friend. And, I forget at what point my mom sort of realized, something's not right. She bailed from, she had put in a lot of time before she realized. And what I want you to hear from that is that folks who are interested in being nefarious, they're smooth and they're strategic, and the email you get looks exactly like it should. They can be real convincing. So I just want to say that sometimes it can be tricky to sniff out danger. All right. That's the first story, Amazon. Second catfish story happened to me. I meet this guy, and I am in Durham, North Carolina. Hello to my North Carolina peeps. And he's in Atlanta. He grew up in Norway. He shares my faith. He has a son, teenager in California. He's a very successful architect. Oh, he lost his parents, but there's a picture of him with his aunt and uncle, and he's really close to them. He doesn't have the ability for us to meet up because there's this big architectural pitch or project or something. Fine. We spoke on the phone one time, and I'm just going to say it didn't feel great to me. He talked about his faith in some ways that didn't feel genuine. And I'm going to confess, I don't know exactly what a Norwegian accent should sound like, but I think that what I was hearing was not it. And when I checked online for this successful architect in his 50s, he was not on LinkedIn, website for business professionals. There was an architect with the same name in a different state who was much younger. And so I kind of filed this information away, but it doesn't bother me too much yet. I have a few friends who are kind of like my support team as I'm doing online dating. And talking to one of them on the phone, I mentioned this guy, and Lizbeth is protective. She is naturally suspicious. She wants to make sure this guy is on the up and up. And honestly, I didn't say a lot about her, but somehow I mentioned, he only has 2 Facebook friends. As soon as I said he only has 2 Facebook friends, her alarm bells went off, and she said, he is not real. And as soon as she said it, I recognized it because, and in retrospect, we go back and we see the signs, because the name that he used on the dating site was different than the name he shared with me. And, when we talked, after we exchanged phone numbers, his account, this was on eHarmony, was immediately deleted, he deleted his account. And that business, I couldn't find him, professionally online. And so I promptly let him know I was done. I had to call a teenager into my room, like, how do I block his number on my phone now? Because I don't want to hear from him again. Always get help from teenagers. And I think that one of the things that might have fooled me was that really thorough and interesting backstory. I mean, who makes all of that up? He does get points for his backstory. All right. One last catfishing story, y'all. I just want you to hear a few so you can begin to see the signs, catch those red flags. And I'm just going to say, my natural instinct is to think, if somebody gets fooled, then they deserved it. Like not that they deserved it, but they were missing something. And this story changed my mind about that it can happen to the best of us. So the salon where I get my haircut in Durham is just a fabulous kind of beauty shop where on a good day, like women sit around for hours gabbing about nothing and everything. So imagine how thrilled I was when I went for my annual haircut to sit in Carla's chair, and these women were already talking about online dating. And I figured out that Tamika and Carla had a shared acquaintance who had gotten suckered by some guy online. I'm just going to call her Monique, not her name. But here's the thing. She had been dating a man who she really liked. They were kind of planning a future together, and Bo was so awesome. He was planning to buy her a home. So this wasn't like we've exchanged a few messages, we've talked on the phone once. I mean, this was a real relationship that they had built. So when an unexpected situation comes up for Bo, and whatever the situation was, kind of he needed cash quick, supernatural for Monique, who's in a relationship with him, to lend him the money. And then Bo vanishes. Monique had been catfished, kind of lured into a relationship by someone who is not who they appeared to be. And again, I confess that, I always assume that people who, send money to, that's another scam, like sending money to somebody using the name of one of your actual friends. They say they're in a pickle, overseas or something. I wanted to believe that I could never be fooled like that. But yeah, I think of Monique often. If I was in a relationship with somebody I believe cared about me, we're building a solid financial future together, I would want to be generous. So I understood how she was hoodwinked, and I want you to hear that these people can be smooth. It's also really important to me that you hear it is smart to involve others, because this thing that we do, like on our computers or on our phones, meeting people online, is kind of naturally an isolated sort of venture. And I really want you to involve others. So at the beginning, this can be like asking a friend to read your profile, look at your pictures to see if they kind of, represent you well. And as a professional communicator, I thought, maybe I had the best profile ever. But when I showed it to a couple of girlfriends, one of them looked at all the pictures I had shared and she said, Margot, in every one of these, you have like a manic grin on your face, every single one. And, I hadn't noticed that. So it was good feedback. And I encourage you to involve others in your dating journey for all kinds of reasons. But then also on the back end, letting someone weigh in, like my friend Lizbeth, on what you know about the person, because they're going to catch things that you might not catch. So I really encourage you, don't do it alone. Let others be involved in your dating life. I think there might be a slide that says dating basics. That's where we are. But for those of you who have not yet tried online dating, I just kind of want to give you a snapshot of what you will be sharing with other people. So when you create your dating profile, you don't include your last name. You're just using a first name. And I'm pretty sure that these days, oh yeah, you know what? I'm wrong. We don't, oh, wait, is there one maybe after that? I shouldn't get involved. I shouldn't get involved. I have so much confidence in Shoshana, of course.
What slide would you like me to be on? I just undid it because you were talking.
No, that's it. It's dating basics.
This
That's
one
all.
here.
It's not even helping anyone. Thank you, Shoshana. So you're using your first name, not your last name. And I think the recommendation of a lot of sites these days is to go ahead and use your real first name. Sometimes I use nickname GoGo because Margot, who's a writer in Durham, North Carolina, it's Googleable. It's pretty findable. And I actually did have to take down my my stand-up comedy about online dating because like one gentleman did Google me. He didn't find my comedy funny at all. And he was afraid that he was going to be next. Anyway, so if you're super Googleable, feel free to use a nickname. So different dating apps are going to ask you for different information, but bare minimum, you're kind of sharing your first name, your age, your location. That's important information for somebody to know as they're dating. They need to know your name, where you are, how old you are. So some sites are just going to want your name, a few pictures, and a little paragraph introducing yourself, maybe a few other questions. But other apps, they have places where you can share your hometown, your interests, your hobbies, how many children, if you're widowed, divorced, other, what it is that you're looking for, whether it's friendship or marriage, a million other things. Okay, one little thing I thought was funny on, on Match.com, they have a question where they ask, do you have children and do you want children? And what they're really saying is, do you have children and are you looking forward to having more children? But I don't feel like they phrased it right because I had to check, I have children, like don't want children. I'm happy with the ones I have. I don't need more. I wish that had been an option. That's funny. All right. You're not obligated to provide all that stuff, but some sites will have a pretty thorough kind of inventory of information you can share. Dating apps themselves, like if you have to register, of course, with your credit card information, they do not share your email, your phone number, your address. They don't share that with other users. And they actually caution you not to share that personal information either. So the part of that for these dating apps that's self-serving is it keeps you on the app, right? Because if you don't share your phone number or email, then you're going to keep messaging with somebody you meet on the app. So it's good for them, but it's also just good advice to stay safe. Keep your identifying information private, even if it's your last name, for as long as you choose. That said, if you're going to meet up with someone, I feel like it's fair game for you to know their last name. And I think if somebody's on the up and up, of course, they'll be happy to share that with you. And I'm also going to share a little bit about how you can do a little research on them before ever meeting in person. All right, down to the
question, Margot. I'm sorry. Good. How would one justify asking someone for their last name but not giving their own? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear it too. And I think that if you're at that stage where you know enough about someone that you're going to meet in person, at that point, I think that it's fair to exchange both ways. Boy, I don't think it's the worst thing if you're like being a woman in this world is a little more vulnerable. So if you make the decision, actually, I do need to know your last name, but I don't yet feel comfortable giving out mine. If that's your choice, you can absolutely do that. But thank you, Jennifer.
I think it's fair. And that's, thank you.
Okay, so as we get practical about how you kind of approach and navigate meeting people online, let's say you're looking through these dating profiles and someone catches your eye. You like what they have to say about themselves, and depending on which app you're using, and we can talk about those, you can send them a wink, a smile, a like. You can send them that little signal like you would do across a crowded room, or you can send them a message, right? Let's say those are the two choices. Statistically, sending a message is much more likely to get a response from someone than like a wink or a poke or whatever it is. So if you're serious, send them a message. Now you know. And so let's say they respond. And you're chatting, you're sending messages back and forth on the dating app message function. And eventually, right, this needs to lead to a phone call, an email, a video call, text, and then eventually maybe getting coffee, maybe grabbing lunch. This is not related to safety, but I have to say something. I have to say only one word about ghosting. When somebody just stops communicating with you, it is called ghosting, and it stinks. That is all. In some ways, we have to have a thick skin to do this journey, because maybe this week, somebody I was really interested in getting to know better simply stopped communicating with me. I'm just going to say you can't take it personally. You have to soldier on. I want to share Margot's 5 commandments that I'm recommending to you with people you are meeting online. And the first is, I want you to be suspicious. A healthy suspicion. Business Insider reports that 1 out of every 10 online profiles is fake. I've been through so many hundreds and thousands that kind of bums me out a little bit. But you're going to see, I really want you to hear this. You're going to see more fake profiles on free sites than on paid ones. And what that means is there are like really big dating sites where you don't have to pay anything. And then the ones that are a little more elite, I think eHarmony might be the most expensive. You can also pay to be on these sites. And you're going to find more monkey business on the free sites than you will on the ones where you're paying. But in turn, I just want you to exercise caution and suspicion as you're getting to know anyone online. I mean, I hate to say assume guilty until proven innocent, but I will, and I mean that in the most loving way. Keep a healthy suspicion about who you're meeting online. Second, be smart. Do a little research on the person that you're getting to know. And I'll say a bit more about that. But when I finally asked one guy his last name, I found his mugshot online. I met another man who he was real clear, like, I don't Google women that I meet online. Like, it was a really bad idea. But it made more sense after I Googled him, and there were pictures of him like taken by the paparazzi. He was like a key witness in a high-profile criminal trial. So of course he doesn't want me Googling him. But we'll talk a little bit about how you can be smart and do that research. Third thing, be safe online. And again, I think that I hope you've heard and are hearing like the things about being safe, protecting your personal information, don't give out your address, don't share too much too quickly, don't share photos that you don't want shared with others. So I hope I'm just repeating what you've already heard. Fourth is about being safe when you meet in person. And that might be, if you remember anything today, and you get to that point in dating, and I do have friends of different ages who have taken a shot at this online dating. They haven't met up with anyone in person, and they find it wearying, and they trash it, which I can respect that. If you get to the point where you're meeting with someone in person, I want you to follow these 3 rules. The first is that you meet in a public place. So no hiking trails, no mountain excursion, no secluded cabin. And I think this one might be on the next slide. You want to be in a place where people are, next one, where people are out and about. They can see where you park your car. They can see you like walking into the restaurant. And then they see you walking back to your car, getting in your car. When you choose a place, just make sure it's a location where there are lots of people around. And because of these three tips are the reason that I have confidence that meeting people online doesn't have to be dangerous. It doesn't have to be dangerous when you're smart. So you're meeting up with someone, meet in a public place. And the second is plan your own transportation. When I was growing up in the 70s, I watched the show Happy Days. And I think Happy Days was about dating in the 50s, which is maybe when you did start dating. And the culture at the time, of course, was that, you know, the guy pulls up in front of the girl's home in a shiny car to pick her up for the date. And, you know, maybe her angry dad grills the guy, or maybe the girl just, you know, runs out the door in her poodle skirt and hops in the car and they're on their way. This is not that day, especially for those of us who live alone. This is not that day. And while you may still appreciate chivalry, safety comes first when you meet someone online. And part of that safety is that they are not your transportation, you are your transportation. You can drive your own vehicle, you can use Uber, Lyft, public transportation, or a friend can take you, maybe even a friend who sticks around and also gets a cup of coffee kind of on the side. You be in charge of your own transportation. And the third rule of safe in-person dating is to let someone know where you will be. And it's as simple as this. I'm going to meet Richard Turner at Motorco at 7 p.m. I'm driving there. I expect to be home by 9. Feel free to call or text me anytime, and I will definitely touch base at 9. Let somebody know where you're going to be. Or if you are super tech savvy or have a tech savvy grandchild, you can use a locator app on your fancy iPhone so that your loved one can track your location. No, I have a girlfriend who does this when she's on her dates. So there's somebody who really can see where she is. So boy, these three friends are just the most important things you need to know in terms of staying safe when meeting someone. You're in a public place, you're in charge of your own transportation, and somebody else knows where you are. And because of those, like, I really haven't been fearful when meeting people for the first time. When you follow those three rules, you don't need to be afraid. The fifth rule of the fifth commandment of online dating safety is be sharing. Again, invite friends into your dating journey. 2 heads are always better than 1. If you have a friend who's willing to listen, loop her in on your dating fiestas and fiascos. Sometimes that friend will just catch something that you have missed. So the same ways that we make choices to stay physically safe while dating, one of the ways we keep ourselves emotionally safe is by, oh shoot, I'm sorry, I went off in another direction. I actually don't want to say that. What I do want to do in the next slide is show you who my team is, who kind of I share my dating life with. So that is Lizbeth, who caught my catfish. And what I want you to know about Lizbeth is that she was living in Alaska when we met online. I was editing some of her writing. We began an online friendship, and we have actually visited each other's homes in different states. So she's a testimony that we really can make friends online and be in really safe, healthy relationships. My next dating friend is Lola. She's a little bit younger than me. She lives in a different state, but we have kind of shared a lot of the ups and downs of this journey together. And then my next friend, super local, her name is Jill. And okay, there's Jill and Margot. That's us. But then go to the next one, because Jill invited me to, there was an event on Match.com, and sometimes dating sites will have these little meetup events. And this was ziplining zip lining, where they strap you in, you're in the woods. So it's like men and women for match can meet up, super duper safe. And Jill talks me into this horrible excursion. You'll have to catch some of my stand-up comedy to hear why it was so awful. But it was, Jill was amazing at just kind of talking to men and striking up conversations. And one guy, he gave her a phone. She took a picture of him, same thing. I want you to see the next picture, because when I was on Match.com, I see this guy and I'm like, oh my gosh, my friend Jill took that picture. I'm the one who kind of blocked out his face there. But I saw his dating profile. I'm like, oh my gosh, my friend Jill took that picture. Lizbeth, Lola, Jill, they're my crew. And, for you, it could be a friend. It could be an adult child. It actually could be a grandchild. I want you to be sharing with someone about what you're up to. All right. I want to give you some tips on how to do your research. It has never been easier than it is today to research someone that you've met online. And again, you're going to need at some point to ask for their last name so that you can kind of, find out who they are. And as you're doing your research, their name should match the picture that you've seen on their dating profile. And again, if they have a common name, I use like Robert Turner or Richard Turner. If they have a common name, you might need to get a few more details about them. But here's what you can do. You can Google them, google.com. You can type in their first name, their last name, the city where they live, to see what you can discover. And as I mentioned, I found some interesting things when I Googled, but again, you're using their first name, their last name. The photo should match. Ooh, in the photos they share in their dating profile, if you're a really great detective, I fancy myself a good detective. Like if a gentleman had on his military, like camo uniform, zoom in, there's his last name. If somebody's showing off the fancy degrees on their wall, zoom in, there's their name and their university. Pictures can sometimes give you a bunch of clues, but you put in their name, city, maybe if you've heard them mention a relative, a child, names of family members. Google is an absolute wonder. And so what you're doing when you're Googling is you're determining that what the person you've met says about themselves is true. Second, you can find them on, if you're on Facebook, you can find them on Facebook, other social media platforms. And I'm just going to say this, if they're on there, to me, what's more important than what they say about themselves is what their children and their friends and their grandchildren have written about them, right? Those comments. If you can find them on social media, that's great. I mentioned LinkedIn, this business professional website, probably under 65 or 70, you can find them on LinkedIn. And you actually, once you have their name, you can do a criminal background check. I haven't done it, but without my knowledge or permission, my friend Emily did a criminal background check on someone of whom I was quite fond. And what she found helped me understand some of the weird things he said on our first phone call. He was talking about college panty raids, and I didn't understand the relevance, but I think it's because he was arrested, but it was just a prank. So my friend Emily, I forgot to mention her, she loves me and she did a criminal background check. All right, we're very close to Q&A. And before we get there, I just want to mention a little something about different apps, because if you haven't launched into this journey, I imagine that's a question that you have. There are endless dating apps to choose from. And I'd like to reiterate the rule of thumb for choosing a dating site. If it's a site that charges you nothing, you are likely not going to meet people of the quality and caliber that you are hoping for. Not being an elitist, that's just how it falls out. So if you're serious about meeting someone, you may want to spend some money. I feel like the monthly fees for dating apps can be anywhere from maybe $10 to $50. They'll make it a lot cheaper if you buy 12 months at a time. Sometimes, like for my mom, there was a free 30-day trial with Zeus. And she's so smart, right? If she gave her credit card, after 29 days, she was taking it back. So there might be a free trial. Typically, if you're paying, you're going to find better matches. My two favorite sites have been Match.com and Bumble. And Match has really great search tools. So they don't work great on your phone, but on your computer, I can look at matches from my hometown in Illinois. I can search for people who share my faith. I can search keywords, social justice, and Match seems to have a lot of people who use it. But especially, I like it for all those ways that you can search for people that you might have a connection with. I also like Bumble, and Bumble is one of those sites where if you like someone, you swipe right. If you do not like them, you swipe left. And Bumble was started by a woman. And what happens is that if you both swipe right, if you match, the woman has to be the person to initiate the conversation. So a man can't message you unless you've both said yes. And kind of the theory that I've heard is that the kind of man who uses Bumble or does well on Bumble is someone who's going to be comfortable if a woman starts the conversation. I don't know. That is the theory. But I have met some really interesting people on Bumble. Those are my favorites. But I also wanted to mention two that are geared toward seniors in particular. One is called Our Time. The other is Silver Singles. And I think both of those are for ages 50 and up, right? That's how they kind of, advertise themselves. I started back when I was 49 and I really felt like the young hot babe on the block. So Our Time and Silver Singles, you're really going to be finding men and women who are, and actually on all the sites, they're not going to be sending you 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. They're always going to give you something in your age range, but a lot of seniors are going to be using Our Time and Silver Singles. All right, Shoshana, thank you so much. We can ditch the PowerPoint and open up for a time of Q&A.
A quick question. If you match with someone on Bumble or any of these sites and you start, is the chatting, I know sometimes can happen over the phone. Do they then have your phone number or is it kind of through a coded thing through the site? Does that make sense?
You're talking about still within the app when you can speak. So if you do it within the app, either just an audio call or some have video calls now, your information is still protected. That's a great question. And that's exactly why the apps are offering those, because then you can have somewhat of a personal contact, but they don't have your information. That's a great question.
Someone in the chat wrote, if you could talk a little bit about it seems like you met some friends online, about meeting friends online and how you do that and make sure that that's safe.
Yes. And because I'm so focused on looking for Prince Charming, I haven't used, I'm so glad you asked, I haven't used sites to find friends, but what do I know? I do know that Bumble has dating and they have friendship. So Bumble is one that offers that. And it probably, I feel like we could learn this with a quick Google. But there's something, if anybody knows, I have a friend who's a real big fan of something called like meetups, where you're meeting with a group of people who share similar interests, whether it's pottery, hiking, and that's a way of building friendships, not romantic relationships, in these meetup groups. I did want to echo what I think Nancy said, just because my mom has that exact same heart that she would love to, go to the theater with someone, grab dinner with someone, not interested in being married again. And boy, I think that might be true of a number of seniors. And if there's a way maybe that you can weave that into your profile, even on dating sites, weave that into your profile. This is what I'm looking for. And again, some ask specifically, are you looking for marriage, children, casual, texting buddy? If they don't ask, you can put in your profile narrative what it is that you're hoping to find.
There were no more questions in the chat if anybody else had anything.
Yeah, if you just wave like this and unmute yourself, we'd love to hear your questions.
I have to say this was interesting because back in 36 years ago, when I entered the dating world again for the first time after a 16-and-a-half-year marriage, it was strange. I was 37 and a half, but I was afraid to almost do anything. And I mean, different world, no internet per se, cell phones, etc., didn't exist. I mean, I'm old. I'm 74. Okay, so I know I would venture out and go to little even get together dance socials, dance clubs. They had back in Burlington, Greensboro area. And it was strange. I always took my own transportation. I'm doing sort of what you said to protect yourself. And I always went with a buddy, with a friend. But I think it's really interesting how today would be if I was in a situation that I wanted to regain a relationship and how I would go about it. So I really appreciate what I've taken down your pointers, not to be used right now because I still have my husband. So I'm content. He's a good guy, but we do have our challenges. And of course, there will be a day like some of the others are saying that we will need the information that I gleaned from you today. So I am very thankful. I was lucky back in those days. How did I find my current husband? He was an estate planner helping my father. And my father asked him to marry me. How's that?
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah, and it got even better because after we got married, and my father, we took care of my mother and father, and he had dementia. He had the early signs of dementia when he asked him to marry me. He said, "You make my daughter happy. Would you mind marrying her?" We were over pinto beans and cornbread on a farm, okay, at a table. We were having lunch with my mom and dad. So, it makes sort of like a stand-up comedy, act. But then we came to move to Raleigh, and at our first Valentine dinner at our big church in downtown Raleigh, 1,200 member church at that time, they had a Valentine dinner, and all the husbands had to stand up and say how they met their wife and how they asked them to marry him. He stood, of course, he got to his table, and I said, "Odell, what you gonna say?" He said, "Well, I guess you would say I had a shotgun wedding, and I thought I would die in a new congregation in the church." We have no children. But anyway, giving you a stand-up comedy clip here. Did you by any chance, I have to ask, did you by any chance know Jeannie Swanner from Graham, North Carolina, stand-up comedian? She was runner-up in the Miss America pageant, Miss Congeniality. She just passed away, but you need to look up Jeannie Swanner. She does left brain, right brain. She was always her left brain husband, okay? But since you do stand-up comedy, go back and look at some of hers. But anyway, I've enjoyed your talk. You made it light because this is a difficult subject. And I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, so I apologize. But
thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions at all? I imagine that in terms of meeting your friends and things like that, not just the sites, but that some of the safety rules kind of still apply, trying to figure out that they're real people. I know that I had a friend here who was really excited about meeting someone else who liked the opera and had someone to go to the opera with, but they'd actually never seen each other or met. And she was trying to do, she was saying that she was going to meet with this person and she was going to pick her up at her house and they were going to go not as a dating thing, as a friendship thing. And her son, who is 15, said, you just did everything you've always told me never to do. You're going to meet someone that you've, just because it's a friendship and not a dating situation doesn't mean that it's not some similar safety risks. So I'm imagining that you would say that the same safety rules would apply with meeting friends too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good story.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much for all your information.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you
You're
so much, Margot.
welcome.
This was such
Welcome. It
a,
was fun to be with you.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're happy you were here too. And we're happy that you all were here to join us. And thank you, Margot, so much for sharing your expertise on such an important topic. You made and kind of overwhelming and intimidating topic very interesting, informative, and fun. So you have a great presence. So thank you for that. And again, you are all welcome to find complimentary resources on today's topic and our speakers' contact information in the link that link that I sent in the email, and we'll put it in the chat as well in a second. And you can also ask us any additional questions and I can forward them on. Go ahead, Margot. I see that.
Yeah, no, that's all. I was going to say, if you have a question that felt too private to ask in front of all of us, you're very welcome to send it my way.
Yeah, well, thank you for that generosity. That's really kind of you. So yes, if we have any other questions, you're welcome to, and you'll have, I think, Margot, you'll have her contact information, but if not, you can send it to me and it'll be confidential. You're welcome to do that. We hope that you'll join us for a new program that we're launching in May as well. It's Schmooze and Nosh, which is a new social program for older adults. The first one will be Wednesday, May 25th from 2 to 4, and it will be here at the Jewish Community Center. So we hope you'll join us for snacks, casual conversation, and activities, and the details will be on the website. So we'll be sending out an evaluation at the beginning of next week with a link, actually, because all of these talks have been recorded and we will put those up online, and a link also for an evaluation. And we do hope that you're honest with us about the programs, because we take your feedback seriously and we do that to modify or keep whatever we've done this year. So please take the time to fill that out. And that is all I have today. Margot, did you have anything else or anyone else? If not, thank you again for your time and thank you all for coming to this program. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, friends.